Straight all day.
You are now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves anyone out there to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together in one bundle, one package, one philosophy, one framework. I wrote a book about it, and this is the everyday masterclass that is known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. Today's topic is what people missed. I don't mean missed like they knew about it and they longed for the old days, but I mean missed as in they weren't paying attention. They didn't notice about Michael Jordan. The reason why I'm talking about this is, as you may already know, I did a masterclass on Michael Jordan as a virtual mentors episode number 1217. My virtual mentors number 5, Michael Jordan. If you didn't hear that, go check it out. If you are a game group member, you have full access. But right now, when I'm recording this, and it may be done showing, or at least the premieres may be done by the time you hear this, with Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls team, their last season, also known as The Last Dance, so to speak. That documentary by the same name is coming out premiering on ESPN every Sunday for 5 weeks, and then of course showing on Netflix after that. This series is coming out documenting the Chicago Bulls dynastic team's last run of the 1997-1998 NBA Championship Series, and most notably Michael Jordan, going deep into who Michael Jordan really was as a person, how he was with his teammates, how he was with opponents, and what were the things that singularly drove this man to become one of the greatest winners in the history of sports, and according to many people's opinions, including my own, the greatest basketball player in history. So it's a perfect time for this, because what I want to point out here is, in addition to the stuff that I talked about in the Virtual Mentors episode number 1217, some things that obviously, with Michael Jordan being as famous as he is, everybody knows who he is, and everyone has some type of opinion of him. Everybody knows what he looks like. He has a high Q rating, as they say. There are some things that people took from Michael Jordan's legacy, or who he was as a person, and the way that he put himself out there on the court and off the court, that people have emulated since then. Obviously, a lot of things. I mean, if you see athletes building brands these days, and athletes having endorsement deals, and athletes having their own sneakers, and athletes getting their individual shine. A lot of that stuff, most of that stuff was not happening before Michael Jordan was doing it on and off the court. But there are some things that people missed about Michael Jordan's approach and how he created that success that seems to have gotten lost in translation over the years, gotten misconstrued. And I have taken the liberty today, I'm going to take the liberty of clearing all that up. So this is not a time for us to argue who's better between LeBron and Kobe and Michael Jordan, because the answer is obviously Michael Jordan. He's either Michael or you're wrong. But seriously, the topic here today is what people thought they were taking from Michael Jordan that they didn't actually take. And they took the surface level stuff, but they don't understand the deeper level, what caused the surface level results. And that's what I'm going to clear up here today. So point number one, the topic again is what people missed when they looked at Michael Jordan, or when they look at Michael Jordan. Point number one, and I'm recording this, by the way, before the documentary even comes out. So nobody should even think that I'm getting this just because I watched it and I said, oh, these are the things people should notice. And whether that matters or not could be inconsequential, but I want to make sure I'm pointing out to you. I'm recording this before that docuseries even comes out, because a lot of the things that I think people are going to learn about Michael Jordan, I think I know about a lot of them, because every book that's been written about the man, I read. There are probably about 5 of them that have been written about Jordan. I read all those books, from the Jordan Rules to Michael Jordan, The Life, to what was the other one called? Playing for Keeps, to When Nothing Else Matters. All of those are books that someone else wrote about Michael Jordan. Some of them in a more positive light, some of them in a more negative light, and some of them based on, it depends on your opinion, the way you see it. And then the books that Michael Jordan wrote himself. He had one called For the Love of the Game, which is, I think it's completely out of print, because I haven't been able to find that book. I've been trying to find it for years, can't find it. There's one called Driven from Within, and there are a couple others. I can't even remember the names of the books, but every book Michael Jordan has either written himself or have written about him, I have read. You could even throw in Relentless by Tim Grover, which is basically about Michael Jordan's mindset. I know he trained Kobe and Dwayne Wade too, but the book is basically about Michael Jordan's mindset. Even though he doesn't call it that, he should have. He would have sold more books. But the whole point is this. What I'm talking about here are the things that I noted from Michael Jordan's accomplishments that people think they note, but they didn't actually note. Point number one, the success of the team serves your personal success, not the other way around. So it's not you get your personal shine, and while you're getting your personal shine, make sure you help the team out too. That's what I see a lot of people doing these days, both in sports and outside of sports. Because Michael Jordan, the thing with Michael Jordan is he was the first athlete to really brand himself, or to have a brand around himself, I guess is a better way of saying it. Yes, Michael Jordan did brand himself, but he wasn't focusing on that, on trying to build a brand for himself. It happened organically because he was so damn good, and because of course he had all these marketing machines behind him. But Michael Jordan wasn't out there like, all right, let me make sure I score a certain amount of points and get these stats and do this and get this highlight so that I can look good and know, yeah, if I happen to help the team in the process, great. That wasn't the way that he approached the game. Michael Jordan approached the game all about winning the game, and he happened to be good enough that he was able to blend and achieve this rare combination of both having the individual shine and all these individual accolades, while at the same time helping his team succeed at the highest possible level. And we know they succeeded because they won all these championships, and it's 20 plus years later, they're making a documentary about one season of this guy's life. What other athlete has ever had that? When you're playing a team game, whether that be business, whether that be a family or a sport, your focus should never start with what you are getting out of the situation. And that's what I see a lot of people, again, with Michael Jordan, because he was able to build this brand and get his name to be so big as an individual. A lot of people notice that, and I see a lot of athletes and people outside of sports, they are emulating that part. Let me make sure my name is known and everybody sees me and I'm getting all the personal shine. They get that part, but they don't understand that the reason why he was getting it is not because he was aiming for it. He got it because he was trying to help the team, and because he was so damn good and a confluence of a bunch of other circumstances, he was able to get the personal success at the same time, but not because he was trying to. He was just trying to get the team success. I feel like a lot of athletes these days are trying to get the personal success, and if they happen to get team success in the process, cool, but if they don't really care. I mean, they say all the right things, but look at their actions. I mean, again, you want to know what somebody really believes, don't look at their mouth, look at their feet. These types of players who are only about themselves, they become cancers in any organization. Y'all know what a cancer is, right? It starts as one little cell, and then it duplicates, and then it spreads, and then eventually it destroys the whole organism from the inside out. That's what a cancer is to any team. And people who are only about themselves, when you're playing a team sport, like business, like family, like sports itself, they are cancers to that organization. These are the people who get fired from companies or to destroy the company, one or the other. If they're allowed to stick around, they will either poison the culture, or they'll create a culture of mediocrity because it will be built around them, built around what do I get individually, and then everybody else is going to start thinking the same way. Well, okay, what do I get individually? If everybody's thinking that way, the best you're going to get is mediocrity. Even if everybody's really, really good, you're going to have an underachieving organization because nobody's there for the team. Everybody's there for what they can get personally. So you need to find, if you're the type of person who's building a team, or you have a team and you're trying to add people to your team, you always want to find people whose main objective is always serving the team. How do I make the team better? How do I make the organization better? How can I give more of myself to make things work for everybody here? You do not want people who are only thinking about what do I get? How can I benefit from this? Well, if everybody else happens to get something cool, but I got to make sure I get mine over everyone else, you don't want those people who have that disease of me, that disease of selfishness, because again, it will either create a culture of mediocrity that you will allow, that you'll tolerate, or it will destroy the whole organization from the inside out. I don't think you want either one of those. As I said, Michael Jordan perfected the blend of getting personal shine that was fueled by team success. Notice how I said that. The wording is important. Personal shine that was fueled by team success, not getting personal shine and team success, because that means he was aiming for both. And as I just told you just a couple days ago, nobody's ever been great at trying to do more than one thing at the same time. He always focused on the team's success, but one part of the team's culture, part of what he was needed to do to help the team, was to do his thing individually. They needed him to score those points and get those highlights. Well, the highlights came. They needed him to score those points and carry the team and do the things that he did. And it just so happened that he got a lot of personal shine while doing that. He didn't go and try to cultivate it. It's just people took notice of it, and people liked it, and people kept talking about it, and it got bigger and bigger, not because he was trying to, it just happened that way. But a lot of people these days see that and then they try to manufacture it. Michael's happened naturally. These days you get athletes trying to manufacture it, and you can see when it's forced. You can feel when it's forced. You can feel when it's artificial. You can feel when it's synthetic. And everyone who's tried to do it, like Jordan did it, they've all been synthetic. All right, listen, I'm a big fan of Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. But Kobe's emulation of Jordan, a good amount of it was synthetic. He was trying to do it. Michael Jordan didn't try to do it. He just did it and it happened. Kobe tried to do it too much at many points, and this is where a lot of the criticism of Kobe came in. Like, this guy's trying to be like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan wasn't trying to be Michael Jordan. He was just being him, doing what he did, and it all happened to work that way. Everyone else tried to emulate it, and they couldn't do it. So if you compromise yourself to help the team, let's say you're in that position. Let's say maybe you're not the Michael Jordan of your team. You got to sacrifice a little bit. You got to compromise a little bit of what you think could get you some personal shine, but you're doing it in the name of the team. There's nothing wrong with that, because understand, everybody is not going to be the man or the woman in every group. All right, there can only be one main person in every group. There can only be one boss to every organization. Maybe it's just your role that you got to play that part. And there's nothing wrong with that, because again, everybody can't be the man. Everybody can't be Michael Jordan. All right, everybody can't be Kobe Bryant or LeBron on the team that they're on. Everybody's not going to be Steve Jobs or Warren Buffett or Bill Gates. It's okay to play a role on a team, and I think, especially in our culture or Western culture, not everyone, but a lot of people are brought up to believe that they have to be a star, and that they're not being a star, and there's something wrong with them. There's something wrong with you if you're not being a star and standing out and being the main person over everybody else. It doesn't have to be that way. All right, everybody can't be the guy. Everyone needs to play a role in the team. I talked about this in masterclass number 1173. Everyone is a role player. And also in masterclass 834, knowing and accepting your role in sports, business, and life. Everybody's not going to be the star. Most people in the team are going to be role players, and that's all right. It's okay to be a star in your role. Point number 2. Today's topic is what people missed on Michael Jordan when they were looking at this guy and trying to emulate what he did. These are the things that people didn't take too much notice of. Point number 2, your business builds the brand. The brand does not build the business. The business builds the brand. I just recently saw or heard both an interview of Tony Gonzalez, who's a former NFL player, Hall of Famer. He has this show where he interviews other athletes. I don't know who else he interviews. I only heard one of them. But he interviewed Deion Sanders, who was my favorite athlete before I even got into basketball, because I was playing football and baseball, and Deion went pro in both famously. Deion's a Hall of Famer as well in football. And Deion was talking about this on the show because Tony asked him about Deion's prime time persona, or his prime time brand that Deion built when he was a professional athlete. And Deion made it clear. He said, a lot of athletes these days, they're trying to build the brand and put together a team and put out content and get their name known and do all this stuff. And Deion said what a lot of athletes are not understanding and remembering is that the only reason my brand became my brand is because I was out on that field balling out every week. Because I performed on that field every game, that's why my brand became my brand. It's not because I was this marketing genius. It's not because I was running advertisements or because my team was so smart and genius. It wasn't any of that. It was because I was balling out on that field. And a lot of athletes, this is Deion, I'm paraphrasing what Deion was saying, a lot of athletes are trying to build a team and create the content and get nicknames and build their brand and get followers, but they're not performing on the field, so nobody cares about their brand. And it's the same thing with Michael Jordan. As I said, Michael Jordan was the first athlete brand. Deion came into the NFL a few years after Michael came into the NBA, but Michael had already laid the path, and I'm 100% sure some of what Deion did was inspired by what he saw happening with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan always made it clear that he handled his business on the court, which helped continually bolster his brand. And as I told you, I've read every Michael Jordan book. I've listened to damn near every Michael Jordan interview. And even the books about him I read. Michael Jordan made it clear, listen, when I was playing ball, I was not focused on my brand. I was not doing anything for my branding or to get more known or to get more famous. All of that stuff happened organically with Michael Jordan, which again is what makes him such the rare superstar that he is, because everyone who came after him, they wanted the same trappings of success that he had, but they had to force it. They had to be synthetic. They had to try to do it. They had to manufacture it. Michael didn't have to manufacture it. He had business partners in place, people who handled his business for him. So they did the negotiations. They talked to the companies who wanted to do marketing deals with him. They set up all those things. All Michael showed up to do was, let me take the pictures, let me shoot the commercial, let me do the little interview, and then he went right back to doing his main thing, which was playing basketball. I told you a couple episodes ago how Shaquille O'Neal, when Phil Jackson came to coach the LA Lakers in the year 1999, leading into the 99-2000 season, Phil Jackson sat down with Shaq and said, listen, I just got done coaching Michael Jordan. And you know what Michael Jordan did? He played basketball. That's all he did. He wasn't out there trying to brand and market himself or promote himself or get known by more people. He wasn't doing rap albums. All he did was play basketball. And Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. Again, paraphrasing Phil Jackson. So if you want to be great, Shaq, all right, you ain't talented enough to be doing more than one thing and dominating basketball. You've already tried that. You've been in the NBA 7 years. It ain't worked. So are you ready to get focused on just playing basketball like Michael Jordan did? Obviously, Shaq said yes, because the Lakers won the next 3 championships. I'm telling you all that to tell you this. Michael Jordan handled his business on the court. And because he handled his business on the court, the brand grew. It's the same thing with you. Every day I hear from people who are asking me about building their brand. How do I get more known? How do I get more people to know my name? How can I get more followers, more likes, more comments, more views, more engagement, more shares? How do I get more, people just want to be famous these days. Even if it's famous on Snapchat or TikTok or Instagram, people just want to be famous. People will give up everything else just to be famous. Well, here's the thing. If you do good business, your brand will grow by itself. If your business is good, more people will notice you, more people will follow you, more people will pay attention to you, more people will buy from you, and they will spread your brand. They will grow your brand for you if your business is good. Deion Sanders said, my business was doing my thing on that field every week, and because I did my thing on that field, people paid attention to my brand. Michael Jordan's business was doing his thing on that court, and because he did that, his brand had to grow because he was the one winning the championship every year. You ain't had no choice but to see his face. He was always winning. Shaquille O'Neal, when he stopped focusing on his brand and focused on the business of playing ball, he won 3 championships in a row. Now you right now, maybe you've been focused on your brand. I need to get more followers. I need to get more known. I need to get more people to see my stuff. Listen, why don't you instead focus on the business? Who are you serving? How do you serve them? How can you serve them at the highest possible level? And what's stopping you from doing that right now? How are you serving people right now? If you service enough people and give them what they need, help them get everything they want, to paraphrase Zig Ziglar, you can have everything, and yes, I mean everything that you want. You don't have to worry about your brand, all right? Because what you want is that fame, that notoriety, that brand. Okay, you'll get it as long as you keep serving people and helping them get what they want to get. You ain't got to worry about how many people are going to know me, how many followers do I got. The people will follow you if you can help them out. Listen, you can help somebody do what they need to do. You can help people get from where they are to where they want to go. They will follow you. I mean, ask yourself this question. Is there anyone in your life, you don't even have to know them personally, who has helped you get from where you were to where you wanted to go in your life? Do you still follow that person? Or do you still listen to that person? Did they have to sell you on their brand with their marketing? No, all they had to do was help you get from where you were to where you wanted to get to. That's the business. They handled their business by helping you get from there to here. And because they did that, you followed that person. You know who that person is. You would tell other people positive things about that person. That's the branding right there. But they didn't have to force the branding. All they had to do was handle the business. It's the same thing with you. You don't want to have athletes out there. You don't want to be posting more Instagram stories than you have points or rebounds in a game. All right. You don't want to be having more followers than you've had success out there on the court and what you're doing. Brands, ladies and gentlemen, do not build businesses. Businesses build brands. So your fame and notoriety and having people know your name or whatever it is you are thinking of when you're thinking of a brand, that will not help you do more business as easily as doing better business will help you build your brand. All right, because when you're doing your business the right way, all right, the brand will grow on its own. You don't even have to worry about it. Just keep doing good business. The brand will grow. One day you'll look up and say, damn, my brand got a lot bigger. Why? Because you've been doing great business. Now, if you go and focus on building your brand, you might get a little bit of success, but at some point you still got to do some business. Now what you going to do? All right, the brand alone does not create business. Even though somebody might have told you it does not. I told you in masterclass number 490, social media is a new TV show. Don't be fooled by the actors. All right, a lot of actors on social media. It's just TV. And masterclass 1114, how much does social media matter to or for your business? If you didn't listen to that masterclass, that's 1114. I would suggest you go listen to it so you understand that the brand is not what you need. What you need is business. You handle enough business, understand, you'll have more brand and you'll know what to do with. Point number 3. Today's topic is what people missed out on when they're looking at Michael Jordan. Point number 3, produce before you make demands. I've talked about this many times that people like to use this phrase, I know my worth, when they're asking for something, but nobody knows their worth when it's time to invest in themselves. See, if you're going to make demands, a businessman once told me, Dre, if you want to make demands, you got to be in demand. When you produce results consistently, handling your business, like I talked about in point number 2, then you can make demands because you have some clout, you have some leverage, you have proven that you can produce results consistently. Until you get to that point, you are not in a position to make demands. If you have no track record, no resume, and someone gives you an opportunity, you got to prove that you're worth any more than just an opportunity before you make a demand of what they got to give you or what they got to do for you or what you're worth. You haven't proven you're worth anything. What are you talking about? You know your worth. Your worth is 0 if you have no proof. If you have no track record, no resume, no proof that you're good, your worth is 0. No excuses allowed. In sports these days, I see players making trade demands or demanding to get paid for things that they haven't even delivered yet. All of that's happening because of Michael Jordan. All right, when Michael Jordan came into the league, his contract wasn't that big. I mean, nobody's contract was that big compared to the numbers they get these days. But because Jordan became so great, by the early 90s, players were coming into the NBA and they were getting these big contracts before they had even played a game because no team wanted to miss out on the, quote, next Michael Jordan. We want to make sure we pay him. So players and agents leveraged this fear that teams had and said, all right, well, this guy's going to be the next Jordan, so you better pay him a whole lot of money right now or he's not going to play for y'all. So a lot of players got paid before they had even produced anything. And here's the sad ending. A lot of those players who got paid before they produced anything never produced anything. At least not up to the standard of what you would expect based on how much money they were getting paid. A lot of players got overpaid based on their production. Michael Jordan never got overpaid, even though he was the best player. And there are no excuses allowed when it comes to producing before you make demands. If you're the best player on a failing team, it's not the team's fault, it's your fault. In sports, again, if you follow sports, you see this all the time. Athletes on a team that is not very successful, and then that athlete, who is usually one of the star players on the team, maybe the star player on the team, makes a trade demand. Well, I want to play for somebody else. I want to go somewhere else. I want to go play with this guy or that guy. Well, wait a minute. The team that you're on right now isn't very successful, and you're the best player on the team. You're the leader on the team. Why is this team failing? Maybe there's something wrong with you. The team's failing. You're the best player. You don't take any responsibility for that superstar who's asking for a trade? How is that possible? All of you know, or maybe you don't know, when a corporation is failing and the board of directors meet, these are people who decide what happens. They meet to make some changes. They decide we got to vote on what changes we're going to make. The first change they always make is what? They don't fire somebody in middle management. They don't fire a secretary. They don't fire an admin. They don't fire the mail guy. They don't fire the maintenance people. They fire the CEO. They fire the person on top. They fire the leader. Why? Because obviously, if this organization is failing, that means we need new leadership. Or it's not the rank and file that's the problem, because they're going to be the rank and file no matter who's here. All right, it's the leader that's failing. If you're the one in charge of this, and this boat is going down, all right, you're the problem. So if you haven't produced the result of creating success for yourself and your group, and if you're the one who's the star, that is your job, whether you want it or not. That's your job. If you haven't produced that result and have a proven track record for it, then you're not in a position to make any kind of demands. What have you proven? Nothing. All you've proven is that when you're in charge, the group doesn't do too well. That's all we know. And that's not the spirit that you see in a lot of people these days. It's basically when things aren't working out, the first thing they want to do is bail out. Let me go find a more favorable situation. Well, listen, the situation you're in is exactly the one that you should be doing something with. You should, instead of saying, let me bail out and go find something that's already set up for me to succeed, stay in the place that you're at and pull everyone else up with you. I talked about this not too long ago, how to pull people up with you as a leader. Let me tell you what masterclass that was. That was masterclass number, where is it? Now I gotta find it. How to raise the standards of a group is another one before I even get to that one. That was masterclass number 1291. And this one is masterclass number 1315, how to lift up people as a leader. So 1291 and 1315, how to raise the standards of a group and how to lift up people as a leader, respectively. Those two masterclasses, if you haven't listened to them, make sure you listen to them. Those are for all leaders out there, especially those of you who are in a group where you feel like everybody else is not at the right level. Everyone else is not performing. Everyone else is not that good. Well, what you need to stop doing is pointing your fingers at everybody else. You need to look at yourself. What do I need to do to step my game up? Because if you're looking at everybody else, then you're looking out the window. Now you're looking out. When you look out the window, you see other people. When you look in the mirror, though, you see yourself. And guess what? Masterclass number 1153, the mirror and the window. It's a conversation about leadership. If you're a leader, you're not looking out the window and looking at what everybody else needs to do. You're always looking in the mirror and asking yourself, what do I need to do? And if you haven't gotten my book, The Mirror of Motivation, notice the theme there, The Mirror of Motivation. Go to mirrorofmotivation.com. You're the best player on the group. You pull that group up with you. You don't complain about the group and ask to leave and go to a different group. Makes no sense. You're the leader. Bring everybody else up. That's your job. That's what a leader does. Michael Jordan was on the Chicago Bulls teams. He was obviously a great player. Rookie of the year, his rookie year, averaged 28 points a game. All-star year after year. Scored 37-some points a game. He won Defensive Player of the Year. He's getting triple doubles. He's getting all the highlights. He's obviously one of the best players in the world. Everybody knows this. But his team wasn't winning in the playoffs. Michael Jordan never, ever said the Bulls need to trade me to a different team so I can win. He never said, well, my teammates are not that good, so I'm not the reason we're losing. It's their fault. Look at my stats. He never said any of those things. What did Michael Jordan do? Every time they lost, the first thing Michael Jordan did was look in the mirror and say, what do I, Michael Jordan, the best player in the world, what do I need to do to help make this team better? Because he understood that it wasn't, oh, I'm good, everybody else is a bum, they're the problem. No, it was, what do I need to do to make this team better? Because obviously I ain't good enough yet because we didn't win. He always brought it back to himself. And in the process of being that type of guy, what did he do? He pulled everybody else up to his standards. He didn't complain that they didn't have the same standards as him. He raised their standards just by osmosis. He raised their standards by forcing them to get to the level that he was at, based on his energy that he brought to the table every single day. Now, I talked about this in Masterclass 1217. I'm also talking about it here and in those two Masterclasses I just told you. Raising up the level of everybody else on the team. That is your job as a leader. If you want to be a leader, you got to bring other people up to where you're at. You don't complain about where they're at. Point number 4. Today's topic is what people missed when they looked at Michael Jordan and the example that he set. Point number 4, winning requires no explanation. Now, this Last Dance docu-series that is coming out, I don't see this docu-series as being some type of explanation from Michael Jordan and the Bulls of what they did. I don't think it's an explanation. I think it's more of a revelation. We're just showing you what happened. We don't need to explain it. And the reason the Bulls don't need to explain what happened is because they won 6 championships. And the only years they didn't win was when Michael Jordan didn't play. When he played, they won. When that team was together, Phil Jackson, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, they won. So they don't have to explain anything. See, when you win in life, you don't have to explain. When you win in life, you don't have to, quote, control the narrative, close quote. We got a masterclass coming on that subject very soon. All right, controlling the narrative is for losers. All right, explaining yourself is for people who lost. When you lose, you got to explain yourself. When you win, you don't have to say anything. You can explain yourself if you want to when you win. You can tell people the story of how you did it if you want to, but if you don't want to say anything, you don't have to because you won. When you win, there is no explanation necessary. Bill Russell, one of the greatest winners, the greatest winner in history of the NBA, won 11 championships. The NBA's NBA Finals MVP award is named after Bill Russell because all Bill Russell did was win championships, won 11 of them. He was asked what his motivation was for winning so much, and he said, early on in my career, this is Bill Russell talking, I realized that these awards like MVP and All-Stars and all the Player of the Year and all this stuff, I understood they were very subjective and they were all based on people's opinions. I decided that if I just went out instead and won as many games as possible, that would go down as historical fact and not be based on anybody else's opinion. Now, I'm out of Bill Russell quote now. I want you to understand a couple things. First of all, Bill Russell played basketball before the civil rights movement had occurred. So being a black guy playing basketball in Boston, which is where he played his career in the NBA, a place that wasn't so welcoming of people of color back then, all right, I can understand why Bill Russell had the perspective that he had. Michael Jordan, playing in the 80s, he he had the sway of the public zeitgeist. The public opinion was in favor of Michael Jordan. Even when he was losing, yeah, he had his critics. But as he started winning, everybody was on his side saying Michael Jordan's clearly the best player. Bill Russell may have been the best player at that time, but a lot of people didn't want to give him the credit for being the best player. And since those awards were opinion-based, he didn't get those awards as much, but he did get those championships were not based on opinion. Championships weren't based on opinions. Championships were based on who won on that scoreboard. And Michael Jordan, though I'm sure he enjoyed at some level having the personal opinions of a lot of the public in his favor, the bottom line for Michael Jordan was always winning games. Michael Jordan, I don't think, was ever self-satisfied with getting an MVP award or making an all-star game or getting the most votes from the fans or having the Gatorade commercials. I think the one thing that satisfied Michael Jordan was winning the game. And since he won so many games, it's been 20 plus years since he played, and Michael Jordan, we rarely see the guy. He's not on any social media. He doesn't blog or do anything like that. He doesn't do any interviews. The only interview he did in promoting this, even promoting this, was he went on Good Morning America. He talked to Robin Roberts for like 10 minutes. And of course, there was nothing of substance in that interview. Michael Jordan doesn't need to make public appearances. He doesn't need to chase clout. He doesn't need to draw any attention to himself because his performance on the court said everything that he needed to say. And he doesn't need to do any explanations or tell you a story or give you a narrative about what he did in his life because, first of all, a bunch of other people already did that. And second of all, because he won, there doesn't need to be a story. There's no story when you win, ladies and gentlemen. There's no story when you win. When you win, there's a story only if you decide to tell it. But if you decline to tell your story and you won, nobody can complain about it. Nobody can say anything to you because you could just point to the scoreboard and say, you want to know the story? There it is. And that's where Michael Jordan was at. Winners never had to explain. Only the losers have to control narratives. Let's recap today's class, which is the things that people missed out on when they're looking at Michael Jordan and examples of what he did. Point number one, the success of the team serves your personal success, not the other way around. If you're part of a group, as long as you help the group be successful, your personal shine will come to you as a result of that. You don't have to force it. You don't have to try. You don't have to manufacture it. It will happen. Michael Jordan perfected the blend of getting personal shine that was fueled by team success. Note the wording there. If you're a great player on any team, you will get both. If you find yourself compromising yourself in some ways because you have to play a role, well, that's okay because not everybody's going to be Mike. Point number two, business builds a brand. Business builds the brand. The brand does not build the business. Deion Sanders said the exact same thing. When you handle your business, your brand will be fine. Your brand will take care of itself. Your brand becomes the fact that you handle your business, and more people will know about you and follow you and talk about you simply because the reputation of your brand. Michael Jordan always handled his business on the court, which continually bolstered his brand. That's the way that it works. If you are trying to build your brand right now, what I suggest you focus on is doing great business. The more good business you do, the bigger your brand will grow organically because the people that you are helping, they will follow you and they will make your brand what you want your brand to be. Find people that need something that you can supply, give it to them in abundance, and they will do the branding for you. Point number three, produce before you make demands. When you produce results consistently, then you have the leverage to make a demand. The funny thing with Michael Jordan is he never made a demand of Bulls management or ownership, even though he had more leverage than any player in the world. And now there are players making demands who haven't even won a playoff game. They haven't achieved anything. Might not even been an all-star yet. They can't even help. They can't even lead the team that they're on to success, but they're making demands to go elsewhere or get things that they haven't quite earned. But Michael Jordan set the stage for them to be able to do that, but they're abusing the power, and this guy never abused that power. He wouldn't even have been abusing it. He would have been using it because he had actually earned it. Earn the right to make demands. If you have not earned that right, if you don't know if you earned the right, you haven't earned the right. Point number four, winning requires no explanation. This Chicago Bulls documentary will not be an explanation of what Michael Jordan did or who he was or what the Bulls did. It will be a revelation of what he did and who he was. And whether you agree or disagree doesn't really matter because they won. The bottom line in life is the winners get remembered and they don't have to explain anything. The losers got to control the narrative. They got to tell a story. They got to explain themselves. Which one do you want to be? Work on your game. Dre all day.